The series has been on a very solid track within these last handful of chapters. I can't even say a couple anymore because I don't think I've disliked a chapter for Seven Deadly Sins since I don't know. I think like 10 chapters almost ago. Some pretty significant leap. I've been, as I've mentioned before in reviews, I've been reading Seven Deadly Sins since chapter one came out. I enjoyed the first arc. The second arc is kind of wonky, and it was very up and down for the current arc. Final big holy war, and from them, I didn't like what happened. Obviously, with Milcerosa, I've gone into lengths of why that is. The Demon King, I I don't really care for him as a character because he doesn't really have a lot as a character. And then like it was like, oh, he's gonna be this big, giant, powerful, just kind of like threatening boss character, and he really wasn't. But it looks like he's at that spot now. He worked himself into that as right now. In his fight, he back to being like this apparent big, colossal monstrosity of power, and the characters are fighting him. And as we left off in the last chapter, because they knew that he was getting replenishing what power he was using during the fight from the lake below them, as well as it was strengthening him and getting him back to his full self. Now he's at his full self, but he can just kind of pretty much replenish any energy used from the lake. And I was a little confused on one aspect of that, because I don't know if it was mentioned of why they didn't just evaporate the lake. They have Escanor there. He's done it before. Like when his fight with Estarossa, like he evaporated a lake. If I think it might even have been bigger than this one without a lot of effort. But Diane, as she was at the very end of chapter 325, was using some like big new attack, Mother Creation, which I'm assuming is going to be her end series like big move, unless Nakaba ends up doing more, because he said 3 arcs the size like total. He said he was going to do 3 arcs, and then the first one that we saw, with Hendrickson as the main villain, that was arc number 1, and this is arc number 3. He can easily continue, or he could do a spin-off. He could do some form of sequel. But as we are currently, this is the final battle, and I was so happy with this. I don't know how much I've mentioned this aspect in any of my videos, especially Seven Deadly Sins. I think I've mentioned it once or twice. I love battle layouts, and I don't mean like I'm not talking about the choreography. Obviously, choreography, beloved when it looks sick and you get cool panels and stuff. I'm talking about just the environment. When you have a zone that feels like a boss battle room, when you're playing a game and you walk into a zone and it's eerily spooky, set up and looking a little bit unique, and you're just like, something bad's gonna happen when I walk into this room, isn't it? If you've ever played Dark Souls, you know what I mean. You see a room that's made to look a little bit special. It's probably, really any Souls game like Dark Souls, Sekiro, Bloodborne, any of those games, you're running into some trouble when you run into a fun room. And I said the same thing, and I don't know if I don't think I wasn't reviewing at the time when we saw the flashback of what Meliodas and Elizabeth fought the Demon King, the Supreme Goddess. But I love that layout where it was like this plateau up in the clouds, but you had just like one probably like good layer of like 100 feet of clouds just cleared out in all directions, and it just looked like some sick, intensive video game boss battle scene. And it's not obviously vital, like it doesn't need to be there. I mean, you could have a cool boss battle without it being like a crazy one. It could have a sentimental reason, or something, but at the same time, I feel like you need like a good environment for especially not just the final battle of an arc, but if what is set up to be the last fight of your series. But it's a good moment for Diane. Not only did she get to have a cool display when she used her spell, and you saw this zoom out, that's them at the lake, and then it's the lake, and then just everything around the lake, like all the way to like probably like a good kilometer, and all like ring around them just broken. She's lifting up all this rock. She's using it to attack the Demon King, move him around, and just separate him up. Creates this big platform, and she's talking about who she is. She's talking about how her her new position as the Queen of the Giants, left to her by Droll. Which the thing is, with King, his spot as King of the Fairies, like as Harlequin, as Harlequin King of the Fairies, his literal title, not just a title, his actual position. It's not like Urza from Fairy Tale Titania, she's Queen of the Fairies, but that's just, a title she earned as the strongest woman in the guild. Whereas you have King, who's actually a king of the fairy race, and he's got a lot. There's still a considerable amount of fairies within the Seven Deadly Sins world, but as we know, I think there's just Elizabeth and that one other giantess. I don't remember if she died or not, but that's two people. If she's still alive. Actually, that's funny. I don't remember if that character is alive or dead. But yeah, that's even counting. That's two. I don't think there's any other giants, at least that we've seen. I mean, it wouldn't. It's not unbelievable to have like maybe giants, because we know they had like an underground society. For some reason they decided to go the way of dwarves. It wouldn't surprise me if they came out. Like, she's already, their strength level's already been far surpassed, so it doesn't really matter, like, for a world pressing wise. It's like, you can just have them show up and they'll be fine. But more importantly for her and King, even though I don't like King, and Diane used to be my favorite sin, and then, like, Gowther messed with her mind, and then she became my least liked sin, and then King surpassed her by a lot after he got his power up and beat Maelstrom Rosa, driving me to an angry fit. But she used to be my favorite, but after the memory mess up, she really dropped. And from then, I just haven't really enjoyed her character. But I did like this moment. I thought it was a really cool scene for her. Making literally the boss layout fight. Separating from the lake, you got a cool display, but also a useful aspect to it. And on top of that, her and King now, because King, just straight up says, afterwards they get married, and she agrees to it. So even if I don't really care for their characters, I don't really like them. I mean, the funny thing about King is I know King's story, like, he's got a good story. Like, his whole, like, backstory, the way he's, he's worked past his racism towards demons. He's learned about being an actual king instead of just pretty much wearing the title. But I don't know. He's always bothered me, and I have a personal grudge after that fight with Maelstrom Rosa. But he gets this good ending. Both of them do, which is nice for them. So that's a thumbs up on them. And then as it is, you get like this cool layout panel as just barren platform, empty, and they pretty much tell him when the Demon King asks what it is, they say it's going to be his grave. It's, the final fight scene between them. This is going to be them, and the next chapter, it looks like things are going to get even crazier. You got a really good panel of just the Seven Deadly Sins all standing around each other, getting ready to fight him, and then one of the Demon King just looking pretty mad, his mark spreading, he's got the cool, like, ink stroke design to him, the way that Nakama draws him out. And from that, just a fun little build-up for the next chapter is we have Escanor going into the one. It's high noon, so for the next minute, he's going to be at his most powerful. So he's going to have to do something significant, because after that minute, he's only going to go downhill in strength. He's going to start dropping, and we know that it's not only is it downhill power level for him, it's a pretty big kind of strain on his body. We don't know if he's gonna, he can live after this one, but this is gonna be the final chunk of Escanor, who is my favorite sin, because Escanor he's the best of so many worlds, because like he's got a really sick design. After the time skip, the only thing added on to him was a really awesome mustache. He's got a sick power. Oh, he had a sick weapon. He has a really good story behind him. We never got his full backstory, I don't think, though. I mean, just like the tale and the story. We'll probably get that here, because the next one is literally called The Man, that is Escanor. Probably get like some cool, like, little TLDR, a couple pages of his, him growing up. It's not needed, but I know that Nakaba wrote it out. We just never really got it. And then probably like a cool display of like full power Escanor, divine sword, and maybe like because he's done the hand swipe is divine sword. He's done the finger for divine lance. Maybe he'll just do full body and call it like divine punishment or divine hammer Escanor. Maybe it'll be like a double fist down hammer or something. But yeah, Escanor also just that whole part with the Endura with him, and he had no power, and he he still was a knight, so he wanted to do his job and protect people even at the cost of his life. I think that was just a straight hard nail in the coffin that Escanor was the best Sith. And he really just checks into like every single category of quality. I mean, the only thing that he looks like he's going to lose is he's not going to get Merlin, because she's probably going to go with Arthur after this arc, if assuming that Merlin doesn't die or something. But other than that, I've been happy with the consistency that these last couple chapters have been. Where hopefully we get like a nice display, maybe like a ending of the fight, because they have the combinational attacks. I'm hoping we get like a full Sins combinational attack, and maybe it's like Meliodas' tattoo. Maybe it's like a cool dragon attack, and then it takes out the Demon King, and it clears like all the clouds over Britannia, and like leaves some like really cool crater that's in the shape of Meliodas' tattoo or something. Maybe like maybe you see it hit, and then there's a crater there, and then 6 around it for like 6 craters. Around one big one, 7 craters for 7 deadly sins. I don't know, something like that, where you get that nice kind of like nice team effort combinational move that really just, it's not just Meliodas, it's that end point. Which, funny enough, now that I'm thinking about it, just the similarities with the 7 grouping for both 7 deadly sins and Fairy Tail against the seemingly final boss 7. It's gonna be funny now, because if they combine their powers all into one attack, it's gonna be so Natsuga, which I'm okay with. I like that. I know people can say it's a little bit, maybe a little bit, I don't want to say corny, I don't want to say tropish either, but a little bit predictable in a sense of just, teamwork, but they're fighting this as a team. It's not just one of them. So I feel like it'll happen. I feel like it's that kind of thing that even though you could see it happening, you're kind of like, I can predict them doing like a big group combinational attack. It's one that you want to see, just so you can see that unity moment together with all of them. So other than that, comment below. Tell me what you think about this chapter and what you thought about everything. Now, again, I was happy with it, and even though I don't really like Diane or King, it was good for their characters. Now they get this happy moment and potentially a happy end. Other than that, like I said, and I'd really appreciate if you would thumbs up the video, put friend the like button, and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. And that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.